Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Wake. The Wake is a comic book, an American comic book. Specifically, it's a graphic novel, a collection of, I believe, about 5 or 6 different comic books. It was written by Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder is from American Vampire. He did some excellent work on Batman, and he's done a few other titles as well. He's very, very talented, highly sought-after comic book writer. I like his work. He's good. The reason I actually read through this book was Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy is the artist. I think Sean Murphy is the very, very best comic book artist alive today that's working. And he is absolutely fantastic. He's really, really good. He's got this kind of scratchy, it's not really sharp, but he has a very distinct style. It's long, scratchy lines, kind of sharp noses on his characters. Everybody's real lean most of the time. It's kind of interesting. He's got a really unique style, and his visual style is just stunning. So, The Wake is a story. It's actually 2 stories. It's the story of a woman named Lee, and then a woman named Lee Word. So, Lee is a woman who is a professor, and she is an expert in whale sounds. And so she is brought onto this super secret mission that is put forward by the CIA, and they are investigating a sound near a deep oil drilling site that's in international waters. And what she's brought in specifically to hear this sound. And so what they find is they go underwater and they find this incredibly advanced drilling location. It's almost like a city underwater. And basically they have this super high-tech sub, really large, and they're investigating this source of this really unusual sound. And basically Lee is this brilliant professor, and she explains that the sound that they're hearing is from a fish type animal, but that it must be sentient because it sounds like speech. Well, right after that, the submarine is attacked by these mermen, essentially. And they look just like mermaids if a mermaid had a predatory face that looked like a lion, and that's it. It's essentially mermen that attack. So, but this is treated like a first contact story. Like, this is a new race of sentient beings on the planet Earth, right? Now, one of the things, before I leave this story of Lee, it's very, very sad. And Lee ends up, by the way, spoilers throughout for The Wake. And so, but Lee ends up dying, and she and everyone on that sub is killed, right? But there was really one point where I was like, this was a good story, but there are points of greatness in it. And one of them was, Lee is a working single mother, right? And that can be a really challenging role, I think. And basically, sometimes people just get into a bad situation where the children they have cannot have 2 parents. And I've never felt the pain of that more succinctly in a piece of art than what was exhibited here. So Lee is this brilliant woman, and she's a genius. She had a split with her husband. So now, and actually, yeah, maybe I'm wrong that there was even a husband. She had a split with the father of her son. She has 1 son. And she leaves him behind to go do this work underwater, right? And you get the idea that she's gone, and actually they make it express that she's left him many times to travel the world and do these really important jobs that only her expertise will allow to be done. Well, the problem with that is, she's left him behind so many times, she's starting to realize this is too much. I have progressed in my expertise, but my son has really paid a terrible price. And so she's like, this one last time, I'm going to make sure that he gets what he needs. So she buys him a video game system. And then, there's one last moment before on the sub where she gets this one call out from a satellite phone, and she's talking to her son, and they have this conversation back and forth about a cord. So she bought the very best game system that he could get. And she got him all kinds of games and an extra controller, and he had everything he needed, but he needed the HDMI cord. The one, without that cord, it was like you'd taken all that money and just dumped it in a hole. And she, you know, and so she went out, bought him all this stuff, brought it home, and for him, this is a really interesting state. Worse than useless, right? If something's useless, it's, you know, it's not going to give you any use. But what if you have everything you want right there and you can't use it? It's enticing you and it's just teasing you, and you know, but it doesn't mean anything because you don't have the cord you need, and you know, and so even though you have that device, it's a car with no gas, you know, it's a television with no power. It doesn't do anything for you, right? And so she's like, and she had told him going up to this assignment, I'll get that cord for you, I'll get that cord for you, and she never gets that cord for him. And so, and what's, you know, which is the most bitter pill, is when she's about to die, he's like, it's okay, Mom, it's okay. I know what you're doing is important and it's all right. And so he's saying, hey, I will sacrifice so that you can move forward. And it's not supposed to be like that. Children are, you know, parents are supposed to sacrifice for children. And it was just such a bittersweet, really painful, poignant moment within that. Second half of the book is Leeward, and she's in a post-apocalyptic world. And what we find out is that the mermen were actually planted here on this planet by aliens. And Leeward actually discovers this through a long adventure, and does a really great job of discovering this fact. The book, The Wake, is absolutely stunningly illustrated. It's really well written. It's got tons of action. It's like a rated R movie in that the violence is pretty gory. It's fast paced. It's really, really a phenomenal comic book graphic novel. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I really like it. I highly recommend The Wake by Scott Snyder and Sean Murphy. Take care.